Now, what if I told you that Texas Tech actually has a great defense?
What if I told you that you're actually really tan?
I guess we're both lying.
Happy Tuesday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circleck.com for details.
I'm so weak.
I love it.
Redbeard on the
Totri,
screen.
joined as always by the one, the only hall monitor himself, Erik Ruby. And then we've got the man, the myth, the Captain Redbeard.
Apparently, he's starving for the spotlight.
He really is. You love to see it. Look at him work. Look at it's just a master class.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I have sat in Kyle's chair. That is my normal job, and I just know that there's so much going through his head right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. None of this.
Let's squeeze in here real quick.
None of this makes any sense because it was on a completely different screen before.
It was.
I might have to jump back there.
We love it. We love it. Everybody, do what you got to do. I'm
gonna go check on Captain Redbeard. You're gonna see me on the other side in a second.
We'll get it all taken care of, guys. Do us a solid. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We have a lot on the menu today. We're going to hear from Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire. We're also going to hear from that Texas Tech defensive coordinator a little bit later on in the show, just to see what they have to say about your Arizona State Sun Devils, Cam Skattebo and company. But we are going to break down that Texas Tech defense just a tad. From what we've seen pretty early on in the season, it's a Texas Tech defense that we talked a little bit about yesterday. That simply is one of the worst units in the entire Big 12. If you just saw that North Texas game, they'd have you fooled. North Texas, if you didn't know, Erik, not a very good football team.
Well, here's the thing. I did know. You want to know why I know?
Why'd you know?
I watched about 5 seconds of them play football, and I knew immediately that this was a stinky team.
Yeah, no, really
I could
stinky.
smell it through my screen. 2 of the interceptions that Texas Tech's defense was able to get against North Texas was because a ball literally hit the receiver of North Texas in the hands, and instead of catching it, it bounced about 5 feet up in the air and landed directly into a Texas Tech defender.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And those were just the interceptions. There were a lot of other drop passes as well. I mean, they needed a game like that from a confidence standpoint. I mean, as a defense, if you hold something up and you hold a team like that and you're like, okay, well, maybe I feel like I can actually do this now because you did play Abilene Christian University and they put up a 50 burger on you and they would have beaten you if they converted their 2-point conversion, right? You go and you take care of a team that you absolutely should have taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. But that being said, the talent disparity between ASU's offense and North Texas's offense is massive. Pretty wide.
Yeah, this is by far the best team that Texas Tech has seen thus far this season when we're talking about Arizona State's offense. We'll get into that Arizona State defense versus the Texas Tech offense on tomorrow's show. But today, really going to be focusing in on the Sun Devils and what they bring to Lubbock to face, again, a Texas Tech defense that is not very good whatsoever. And it obviously always starts for Arizona State in the ground game, right? It always starts with Cam Skattebo, a top 4 rushing attack in the Big 12. And Cam Skattebo is not the only monster that makes this Sun Devil show scary, right? You got guys like a Raleek Brown, a Kyson Brown, a DeCarlos Brooks, an Alt McCaskill, who we haven't seen a whole lot of this season as well. Going to be really interested to see kind of the usage of Scat and some of these other running backs because Raleek Brown's still questionable. And then DeCarlos Brooks questionable as well. So it could be obviously a heavy workload for Cam Skattebo, but you'd expect that regardless.
I mean, what's nice about having Cam is that if you are a little worse for wear in that running back room, which was so deep. And obviously now they're dealing with injuries. That's football.
Yeah.
You have a running back that you can just boop. Here, take it. Here, take it. Here, take it. Oh, you want to catch a pass? Here, catch a patch. Oh, you want to get 300 all-purpose yards? Here, go get 300 all-purpose yards, right?
Yeah.
You have a running back that can do that. You also have a room, though, that if you have that depth healthy, Cam Skattebo has no problem letting other people eat. I mean, you 100%. Saw it against Wyoming, right? Where he wasn't used that much. I think that's a really nice dynamic to have week in, week out, having a room like that has that top-end guy. But he knows that there's talent beyond him in that room. And if they need to use that talent, they will. Obviously, that talent has to be available. And that's the big thing right now. But at the end of the day, as long as Cam Skattebo is there, you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, ASU's rushing attack is its identity. We said it all off season. We said it all last season, right? I mean, it's who they are, right? And Sam Leavitt, as a counter to that, also able to run the ball too. I mean, Leavitt at this point is basically running back too, as far as like stats go. Like he's picking up a good amount of yards every single game. So you have countless players that can attack on the field on the ground. I mean, even I think Jake Smith has gotten a carry. Somebody else I think got a carry too. I can't remember who.
Might have been Tyson. Might have been Melquan, just over an end around or something.
You have a lot of speed on this team, and you have a lot of really smart runners, and that's going to bode well against the Texas Tech defense. That listen. You're going to wear them out. You're going to pound the rock. You're going to just take them out of their game, take them out of their element, and then you're going to open so many things up in this passing game coming off of Sam Leavitt's best game of his career so far, his best passing game of his career, and you're going to open up some of those deep shots. You're going to open up some of those mid-range, short-term passes, even some of the screen passes too, because you are going to be running everything through the ground first.
Yeah.
And that is going to be something that, I mean, Texas Tech should be terrified. They should be absolutely terrified of Cam Skattebo and what he does, and the trickle down effect of when he's going, everything else around him can go too. That should be terrifying, not just for Tech, but for any team in the Big 12.
No, 100%. I think you nailed it, right? And kind of looking to what Texas Tech defensively has been through the first couple weeks of the season, right? Texas Tech obviously is still a 2-1 football team. The one loss coming against Washington State. We'll get into each one of those games that they played, what we saw defensively, but I do want to start with Washington State because that is the game that Texas Tech did end up losing.
And that's the only legitimate team they've played.
The only legitimate team offensively, I would say, that they played. And we'll get in ACU, we'll get in North Texas a little bit, but really Washington State, I think there's a lot to take from that game. Defensively, ran a lot of 3-man fronts with a 3-high safety look. And for people that aren't necessarily super football junkies, a 3-man front is for Arizona State what Mississippi State played a good chunk of, especially late in that game. We heard Cam Skattebo asked about it in his post-game presser of that game. Did that feel disrespectful? And it did, right? Because you can't run a 3-man front against a really dominant ground game. It just puts too much pressure up front on those defensive linemen. And if you don't have SEC level defensive linemen, which in the case of Mississippi State didn't even matter because Cam Skattebo and that offensive line were just moving them around like it was nothing. So ran a lot of a 3-man front, 3-high safety look, puts a lot of pressure on that middle safety. The whole point of that is to try and be even spread when we're talking about defending the run, defending the pass, defending the RPO looks and that type of stuff. However, what you saw in that game, the defensive linemen for Texas Tech didn't stay in their rush lanes. It obviously allowed Washington State's running back, I believe he had 60-plus rush yards. But reality set in for that Texas Tech defense at a certain point because that middle safety, the amount of pressure that's put on that one man to really come downhill and really get his lane correctly and not over pursue kind of the way that they did in that game, put too much pressure on him. And Washington State's quarterback, super athletic, took full advantage of that, rushed for 197 yards, one touchdown.
21 carries.
And again, Washington State, that's not necessarily the brand of football that they want to play. But when you're running that defense against an athletic quarterback that does have the ability to take off when he sees something, it's definitely going to hurt you. And it hurt Texas Tech in a number of ways. Again, like you said, 21 carries, nearly 200 ground rush yards.
Do you know how big the flaw in your defense has to be for their quarterback to carry the ball 21 times, 10 times more than your next leading rusher in Wayshawn Parker, 11 carries for 69 yards, 6.3 in attempts. He averaged 9.4 an attempt. He almost rushed for 200.
And 300 rush yards for the team.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, this was a game.
Was coming from your quarterback.
This was a game that was dominated on the ground by Washington State. And it wasn't necessarily, if you go back and watch that game, it wasn't necessarily designed quarterback runs. Mm-hmm. It's again, pretty simple. When you're dropping back to pass and you have that 3 high safety look, right? That third safety, the middle guy, he's going to stay there, play his zone because that's what he needs to do, right? Whether that be a cover 2, cover 3, doesn't really matter in this case because those defensive linemen, if they get upfield too quickly, right, specifically on the edge, and you only have that interior nose tackle right up the center, well, now we're talking about the A gaps and the B gaps really being exposed. And if you have an athletic quarterback, he could step up, he could take off, make one man miss, and it's an entire problem. You get what you got against Washington State.
I mean, there's no way that they go out and run a 3-man front against ASU. I mean, listen, you can't watch the tape against Mississippi State and think that's our plan of attack. You can't go and play Washington State and think that's what we're going to do to Sam Leavitt, who is very prone to use his legs.
Yeah.
Now, if they do,
I mean, you just feed them.
It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
And I think if they do, they'll probably do it for about one possession. Once ASU scores 7, they're going to have to change their game plan.
Yeah.
Because if you bring, if Mississippi State brings a 3-man front and they get absolutely torched, and you bring a 3-man front, you're going to get torched. You're going to get absolutely destroyed. Right. But their secondary is not that great either.
No, their secondary isn't very good. Either kind of still following that Washington State game. At a certain point, they did transition to a 4-man front, kind of going back and forth from a 4-man to 3-man front. Mm-hmm. That's not the only game where they ran that 3-man front. We saw it a little bit against North Texas, at times against Abilene Christian. But the defense kind of looked different in those 2 games than against Washington State. And again, note that Washington State's quarterback far more athletic than what you have at Abilene Christian and North Texas. Mm-hmm. And really overall what we've seen from this defense, right? It really depends on how talented that other quarterback is, how athletic. Because, yes, Washington State's quarterback was athletic and he was able to do what he did on the ground. However, from a passing perspective, that 3 high safety did really give Washington State some fits, right? 9 of, I believe, 19, 115 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, one interception. 1 interception came pretty early on in that game. Washington State wasn't really able to pick apart that zone the way that you would like an offense to do, especially when you're having that kind of success on the ground. Should be able to open up the play action pass just a little bit more. But again, like, it puts so much pressure on the defensive linemen and those 2 linebackers that you do have, that if you don't have some serious high quality guys and some guys with some really, really intense football IQ, it makes life miserable for your defense because, again, a good ground game is going to just absolutely demolish you every single time. So I'll get into the North Texas game before we go back to the Abilene Christian game, because the North Texas game, there's not a whole lot there, right? They worked in that 3-man front. They did transition from a single high to a 2 high look, less of a 3-man look after that Washington State game. So with that single high, 2 high look, kind of balancing between a cover 1 look, right, where they do have the 2 safeties and they bring down either the free safety or the strong safety kind of into the box a little bit, not necessarily as far down as Arizona State does, right, in that 4-2-5 defense. But against North Texas, you can't take away too much of it because North Texas is, again, I'm sorry, they're just not a good football program. They're not a good football team. So Texas Tech really jumped out of the gate and made North Texas such a one-dimensional team that it didn't really matter what they were running defensively. And when you have such a big skill gap, it doesn't really make sense.
North Texas made North Texas a one-dimensional team.
Yeah. I mean, there was
a lot easier to play defense like that when your opponent isn't great.
No, Texas Tech literally scored 21 points in a matter of 60 seconds.
It was wild. And I mean, if you look at Washington State, right? I mean, they did do a good job of containing that passing game. And it's like, I want to talk about North Texas, but at the same time, it's like, I take almost nothing from that game.
Yeah, you can't really take much.
I take nothing except for I really wish that North Texas was on the schedule for ASU this year.
That's valid.
That's the only thing I could take away from that game. But we have a question in the chat from Glenn saying, is Washington State identity a pass first team or air raid type or run oriented team? And the next game when they played Washington, Mateer had 34 passing attempts with 17 to 34 for 245 yards. yards, a touchdown, interception, ran the ball 16 times.
Yeah.
Right. So
pretty balanced.
So still running a lot. I mean, running the ball 16 times as compared to your 21.
But you still threw it 34 times.
Still threw it 34 times. I think what kind of happened in that Washington State game was probably less Texas Tech taking them out of their game and more Washington State identifying a weakness and attacking that weakness.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you are able to move, I mean, you have 5 more carries than you did the game after that, but you have almost 150 more yards.
Yeah.
Right? That's a massive difference. And if your pass game isn't working or it's just not that efficient, you're not going to go to it that often.
Yeah.
Right? So you can give Tech credit for taking away the passing game. 9 for 19, 115, and in 1 touchdown, 1 interception is not great. QBR of 66.8, not good.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's a lot more about they saw what was going on and they realized that there's this massive hole that they can expose on their defense, and they just did.
Yeah.
Right? Because with North Texas, there was nothing that North Texas could expose on Texas Tech. It didn't matter what Texas Tech did. If they loaded the box, if they dropped everybody back, North Texas was screwed either way.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Share in the chat. Do they have a deep enough D-line to play a lot of linemen up front, or do they do 3 men up front because that is what they have on defense to work with best? No, that's really just kind of the system that they have run at times. Again, even in that Abilene Christian game, how they opened the season, really in every game this season, they've experimented with that 3-man front, eventually kind of transitioning to a 4-man front, which again would be a standard front, right? They run a lot of, at least they come out in a 4-2-5, right? So for those of you, again, that aren't super familiar with formations, it's 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and then 5 people that qualify as like defensive backs. How they play that is slightly different than Arizona State. Again, they usually have a 2 high or a single high safety. But when you're running that single high safety, you are looking at a little bit more of a man coverage look, which Texas Tech did run a good chunk of man coverage against Abilene Christian. And Abilene Christian absolutely exposed them. They exposed the safeties. They exposed the DBs on the perimeter, which says a lot to me if you can't run man coverage against Abilene Christian, because Arizona State's wide receivers or tight ends, they're far superior to what Abilene Christian is going to run out there at a skill position perspective. I would be pretty surprised if Texas Tech opted to run a lot of man coverage, simply because you don't have the guys up front to get enough pressure. This isn't, like I said, you can pick apart this Texas Tech defense at all 3 levels. The defensive line isn't very good. The linebackers tend to over pursue, which you saw that a lot in the Washington State and Abilene Christian game. And what I say over pursue or over commit, right? You see a lot of teams in modern college football run pre-snap motions, right? They'll have somebody come across the formation. What that does is, whether it's the nickel or some of those linebackers will shift over. And if you shift too far, or if they're running a play action or a fake or whatever, then you have those linebackers will overcommit. It sets up a block beautifully, and then the running back is just, they're kind of sprung free. You saw that a lot against Abilene Christian. And that's why Abilene Christian was able to score 51 points on a Big 12 team. Like, this is not a very good defense. Connor in chat, what is Texas Tech defensive ranks so far? We touched on it a little bit on yesterday's show, just in terms of where they stand in the Big 12. I'll go over them again, just if you guys missed it. So defensively, they're 15th in terms of total yards allowed per game in the conference. Mind you, there's 16 teams in this conference. They're 13th against the pass out of 16, 15th against the run, and 16th, worst in the conference in points per game.
So I'm going to boil down everything that Anthony Totri just said.
That was a lot. I'm sorry. I apologize.
They're not good.
They're not good.
They're not. Their offense is good.
That's tomorrow.
Their offense is good. Their defense is not good.
Is abysmal. Their defense is garbage.
Listen, obviously Arizona State not favored in this game, right? On the road. But if ASU puts up under 28 points, it's a failure.
This team,
that's a failure of an offensive performance.
ASU has scored 30 plus points in each game this season, right?
Yeah.
They've scored 30 plus points in each game this season.
ASU should score at least
I'll
30. Say 28,
at least
but
30.
like at least 30. I mean, the over-under on this game is 60.5. ASU needs to account for at least half
just look at what Texas Tech has allowed, right? They allowed 51 against Abilene Christian. They allowed, I believe, 34 against Washington State. And they even allowed 22 to North Texas, whether it was garbage time or not. It's still allowing 3 touchdowns against a team in North Texas that's not good. Reza in the chat, they basically have the worst defense in the Power 4. That is not that's not wrong.
I think they're definitely in the conversation.
They have one of the worst units in the entire country.
And the thing about North Texas is they kind of got in their own way a lot. Again, with like the interceptions and everything, they were still moving the ball. 353 total yards on offense for North Texas. They just also had 3 turnovers, only 13 first downs. But, I mean, they stayed on the field a decent amount. They had possession of the ball for 27 and a half minutes of the game. Texas Tech only had it for 32-30. Obviously, Tech was turning that into points, but they're not. I don't know how many different ways we could just say. I mean, I know you did, but, like, they're not good. And it's not just the fact that it's like, hey, like, you know, the scheme that they run ASU matches up well against. Like, no, they don't have a counter to what ASU does. Because even if they stack the box, even if they focus all of their time and their energy and effort on stopping Cam Skattebo, I don't believe they can. And 2, Sam has shown that he's able to target people, right? He's able to hit that deep ball as he did to a Jordan Tyson. And that's only going to get easier and easier. I mean, Jordan Tyson had over 100 yards in the first half against North Texas, and North Texas's defense is better than Texas Tech's.
You mean Texas State?
Texas State,
there
sorry.
There you go.
Sorry. Too many Texas teams.
I know, a lot of Texas teams. I'm
just kidding. I love Texas.
Their scheme
Texas
is not...
to Tempe alive and well.
The Texas Tech defensive scheme is not necessarily conducive to the personnel that they have there. But that's just kind of goes to show, like, they put a lot in the transfer portal offensively. And then obviously being able to retain a running back in Taj Brooks. But defensively, again, the secondary is cooked. And there was somebody in the chat talking about the pass blocking from the wide receivers. Yeah, Jordan Tyson and company should have a field day out there, whether they're in man coverage, whether they're being asked to block those corners. Like, I don't see a way realistic. I mean, I'm sure there's a way, but I don't see, based off of what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, I don't see Texas Tech defensively being able to subdue the Arizona State offense, not with Sam Leavitt's dual threat ability, not with Cam Leavitt, not with the weapons you have outside.
Who?
Sam Leavitt.
You said Cam Leavitt.
Did I say Cam Leavitt?
You said Cam Leavitt.
Yeah, Cam Skattebo, Sam Leavitt, same thing.
Cam Leavitt kind of goes.
Cam Leavitt goes
crazy.
Sam Skattebo.
No, Cam Leavitt's
really
better.
I like Sam Skattebo a little bit more, to be honest with you.
No, we can mix. Why not both?
Look, there are a couple guys on that Texas Tech defense that do make themselves known pretty early on in the game. You don't have to worry about a pass rush. Texas Tech doesn't really have one. Linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, which highly encourage everybody to go look at this guy's photo. He's got some of the best facial hair, I think, in the Big 12. It's phenomenal. He looks like the Red Raider. He looks literally like the mascot. 6'1", 230 pounds. He's a junior. Leads that team in total tackles with 21. Also has a forced fumble on the season and a pass deflection as well. In terms of DBs, defensive back Chapman Lewis, he's a sophomore, 6'1", buck-80, a little bit more of a bigger, lengthier corner. He does lead their team in interceptions, 2 INTs thus far this season, 9 total tackles. Outside of those two, there's not really a lot of quote-unquote playmakers on this Texas Tech defense. If you're a Texas Tech fan, I'm sorry, not sorry. This is just the way that your defense was built. This is the way that it's constructed, and it just simply does not match well against what Arizona State offensively has done. I don't think, despite them running a 3-man front multiple times this season, I would be shocked if you saw a 3-man front more than 5% of the time.
Only when Cam's not in the game.
No, and I feel like if Kenny in some of these meetings is going to tell Sam, if you see a 3-man front, check to a run. Yeah, check to a run.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what Washington State was able to do. And to be fair, and not to like disrespect Chapman Lewis and all of his greatness, but one of those interceptions was an interception that went straight off the hands of a North Texas player into the air and right into his. So it wasn't like he made some incredible play. I do have a question. David Vincent in the chat says, ASU is awesome. Hope Tech can keep it close. Are you a Texas Tech fan? I would assume so.
Maybe. I have no idea.
Can you give us your honest perspective of watching this team through 3 weeks and what their defenses look like? I don't know if you're still here, David. I would assume so. You just commented. I'm assuming you're a Tech fan. Obviously, I mean, he says Hope Tech can keep it close. He must have watched both teams and not thought that Tech is good enough to beat ASU.
I mean, I don't think they're good enough to beat ASU.
I don't think so either, but I obviously the sports books don't think that.
Yeah.
So I am curious, David, as a Tech fan, what you have to say. So let us know down in the comments. We appreciate all of you guys being in here in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you are new here, which I know we've been getting a lot of new people since the season started, there will be a post-game show after the game on Saturday. That will be right here. It's going to be a ton of fun. We do this every single day of the week, include like 5 days a week, right? So either Monday through Friday or 4 days during the week at a post game. And we have a lot of fun. So David, let us know down below. All of you guys, we are going to get into score predictions and stuff later in the week and all of that. And we're going to continue to talk about Texas Tech and how this offense of ASU matches up against their defense. But first, a quick break. I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Empire Today. Listen, you don't want to make big decisions and rush through it.
No.
You just can't do it. You can't. And you don't want to make your flooring decisions on a whim. You want to do it with the right people. Quick, easy, convenient is what Empire Today prides themselves on. However, they're not just going to guarantee you the lowest price, because anybody who does that is putting flooring in your home they would not put in your own. And the last thing you need to do is go through not only the time and the energy, but the money of replacing your floor, and you just don't like it, or it doesn't hold up. You're 6 months in, and what did I do with my life? Also, you don't want it to not match exactly what you want for your home, and that's where their virtual floor visualizer comes into play. Awesome way to look at what fits in your home and how you would like it, because you don't want to get some flooring and then it doesn't match with the cabinets, and now either you or your partner or your kids are like, this is ugly, I don't want this, and you just spent so much money. But you can also schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off when they use promo code PHNX. Some restrictions do apply, but see EmpireToday.com/PHNX for details.
Absolutely. And we have a ton of partners here at PHNX, and a lot of them are here trying to help you guys save money. And Circle K is certainly one of them, guys. You guys can save money by joining Inner Circle. It's their free membership program. It's super easy to download, literally takes 60 seconds. Enter your email and phone number to be fully enrolled. And right after that, all you need is your phone number to get deals. And some of those deals include saving 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, which, hey, that goes a long way. And then every day after that you want to fill up, you could save 3 cents per gallon as well. There's plenty of other member exclusive deals and discounts. It's, like I said, super easy to sign up. The app is super, super user friendly and easy to use. Check it out, download it. Like I said, super easy. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
I think we have a Tech fan. I don't think that it was David, but I think we had a Tech fan.
Yeah,
Michael Davis.
Yes.
Scroll up just a little bit more. Kyle says, as a Tech fan, this defense was awful against ACU and Washington State, but solid against North Texas. I think y'all are overselling how bad North Texas is because their offense was well thought of going into that game. Overall, it's a very young unit that has struggled and needs to grow up fast. Maybe North Texas is better than what they showed in that game. I haven't gone back and watched them against SF Austin or South Alabama. I mean, they put up 52 against South Alabama, 35 against SF Austin.
But what are we talking about here?
But that's South Alabama and SF Austin.
Like, these aren't Power 4 programs.
No,
you know what I mean?
And I mean, again, they did putting up 52 in any game is great. Putting up 35 is great. But when I went and I watched them play a defense like Texas Tech's, and I mean, so many just easy mistakes. It's hard for me to give him credit.
This week?
Ooh, we might. David Vincent does say in the chat, says Tech has never stopped a running quarterback.
I mean, then you're in for a long Saturday morning.
I'll tell you that
because, like you said earlier, Sam Leavitt's pretty much RB2 at this point.
He is.
He had a rushing touchdown last week. Pretty sure he had a rushing touchdown the week before against Mississippi State as well.
And it's not really designed plays. He takes advantage of what he sees.
Yeah. No, he is growing. And this is going to be an opportunity for him, I think. Please let it be an opportunity to learn how to slide. That would be awesome, because I think you are going to be taking off. You're going to see a lot of Sam Leavitt on the ground. You're going to see a lot of Scat. And this is going to be, again, Arizona State testing a defense that's again, one of the worst in the conference. That is statistically. That's just based off of numbers. Testing to see if you can stop their strength. And their strength starts, obviously, with Cam Skattebo and that rushing attack. Look, obviously, we're going to continue this conversation talking about Texas Tech's defense against Arizona State's offense, but I do want to hear from Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire. This is what he had to say, just his opening thoughts on Arizona State during his press conference.
Man, I have a lot of respect for this coaching staff that we're getting ready to play. Coach Dillingham is an ex-high school coach. He probably has 6 to 7 ex-high school coaches on his staff. I turn on the film, and I just love watching them play. I mean, it's football. They play with such a passion. Defensively, they're running around like their hair's on fire. They've got a running back that I think is one of the best in the country. Had a huge game against Mississippi State. I think it was 262 yards rushing. So, just price of admission right there, you're fixing to see two of the best backs. That's a great thing about the Big 12. We have the best backs in the country in this conference, and you're fixing to see two of the best go at each other with Taj Brooks. And I'll screw up his name. I think you could say Skattebo. I don't know exactly how you say it, but I know he's a bad man, and we've got our work cut out for us.
He's a bad man. That's what you need to take from the quote, right? Joey McGuire knows it. Cam Skattebo is a bad man. And when you put a 3-man front, a 4-man front against a defensive line that just hasn't been great, and an Arizona State offensive line that's returning one of its best offensive linemen with Sean Na, hopefully this week, it's a recipe for disaster for that Texas Tech defense, but you do have to stop. You do have to stop 4, and no team to this point has really been able to do it. You can point to that Texas State game. They loaded the box like we thought they would, and even at the end of the game, when the Sun Devils needed to put it away, they handed it to 4, and he got the first down.
Yeah, bulletin board material mispronouncing Cam Skattebo's name.
Look, I give it to him. I give it to him.
I'm kidding.
There's a reason why we got to leave a light with Skattebo, and there's a reason why we've got Scat right behind us, because he makes this team go.
That's our guy.
He makes the team go.
He's the heartbeat. He's the lungs. He's the joints. He's the veins.
He's the body.
He's the bones. He's the brain.
No, he's the muscle.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
That's good.
He's the muscle hamster of this roster.
That's why we work so well together. I just say nonsense, then you bring it all together. No,
well, you're gonna have to feel when we get to basketball season. We'll swap.
We'll swap it up. Yeah, okay, sounds good to me. No, listen, I feel like Cam's gonna have a great game. I think Sam's gonna have a great game. I do feel like we're gonna see Sam use his legs probably more than we've ever seen him use it. I think it's gonna actually be part of the game plan a little bit more this week than I think so before. But I am really excited for the head-to-head between Taj Brooks and Cam Skattebo. I think a great point there that he said was the Big 12 has the best running backs in college football.
Yeah, bar none.
It's got almost every single school has a running back that you're like, wow. Like RJ Harvey.
Yeah, he's a dog.
Dude.
He's a dog.
Ollie Gordon.
Dog.
Yeah.
Even though Oklahoma State's run game hasn't been great this year.
No, I would say that Ollie Gordon might be the most disappointing player in the Big 12
but part of that is obviously the offensive line too.
Yes, but
even though I think they have the oldest offensive line in the country.
Yeah, and they returned a lot of players too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a different conversation. Maybe that's some supplemental content right there. Most disappointing players in the Big 12. But Taj Brooks is definitely not one of them. We'll talk about Texas Tech's offense tomorrow.
Look, you brought up Sam Leavitt, and I really haven't thought too much about it until today. Just about potentially seeing a Jeff Sims package, just because don't get me wrong, Sam Leavitt is super, super athletic. Jeff Sims he can run the football. Mm-hmm. He can really run the football. So I'm interested to see if they do anything with Jeff Sims in this game. Should definitely be interesting. But again, Sam Leavitt is, last week, I think he needed to have a big game to go out there and get it done. And he obviously did. He did have a big game. What do you expect to see from Sam in terms of just a mix between running and throwing the football?
I expect to see more design plays for him to run, because a lot of the design plays that you've seen from him have been goal line.
Yeah.
Just get the ball in the end zone. I think against Tech, he's going to have it in his head that, hey, this might be a play action, but if you see a hole, you hold on to that ball and you run it.
Yeah.
Right? Not just hey, go off your instincts, because what we saw a lot against Texas State was instinct running, right? Especially when that one guy came off the edge, he spun around, picked up a couple yards. You're going to see a lot more, hey, this is our plan. And I know yesterday we talked about stat lines, 300 plus in the air for Sam, 150 on the ground for Cam. I feel like if you go to all-purpose yards...
Sam probably hits 300.
Yeah, I think Sam hits 300 all-purpose yards, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more evenly spread out. But I think one of the really cool things about Leavitt that we've seen is that he kind of does something a little different every game. And it's not like Texas Tech's secondary is that great. They might establish a run with Scott.
Sorry to cut you off. They're not even good.
No, they're not good. Scat might establish a run. He might run the ball a couple times, but you might find that the biggest hole in this Texas Tech defense is that secondary. This might be another Jordan Tyson game. This might be a Jake Smith game. This might be a Shimon Matire game.
Yeah.
Right? We saw that Shimon Matire and Sam Leavitt really connected well in that Texas State game. In fact, that was basically a security blanket. At some points, that was the only reason why Arizona State's offense was moving with Shimon Matire. So I do believe there's going to be some more actual scheduled drawn up runs for Sam. But at the end of the day, what I love about Leavitt is that if you find a weakness, whether it's in the passing game or the running game, he's shown the ability to be able to exploit that. 300 all-purpose yards is very much in play. 300 in the air might be pushing it a little bit, but all-purpose yards, I'm pretty confident he'll hit that.
I'm interested to see because, like we said, against Washington State, they had that 3 high safety look. And like we said, it did really well against the pass. I'm interested to see if they experiment with that at all again, maybe on third down, just running that zone and trying to see just how good Sam Leavitt is in terms of reading a defensive zone and picking it up. But look, I don't think anybody can take Sam Leavitt lightly at this point. And Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire, he is definitely not taking Sam Leavitt lightly.
I mean, he does a great job. He's got a good arm. Does a really good job in the play action pass, and one reason because they're running the football so effective right now. But the thing that we've got to do a really good job of, and much better job than we did week 2 is, whenever he starts to scramble, we've got to force him where we want him to go versus, letting him run all the field because he is really athletic, I would say he's a lot like the kid that we placed at Washington State.
Just a reminder as far as what happened when Texas
197.
Tech, on 21 carries. So if Sam Leavitt reminds you of him, I don't know if you have the ability. I don't know if you have the talent.
I don't know if you have the facilities for that big man.
Don't know if you have the facilities for that big man. I'm really excited to see what Sam does this game. I think, like the whole term, like the world is your oyster. I think this game is his oyster.
Really?
Right. I feel like
sell me on it.
I think this is going to really be the game that Sam Leavitt walks into. He's got 3 weeks under his belt. He just let a comeback performance, had his best performance combined on the ground and in the air against Texas State. Now you're facing a presumably worse defense, still, start a Big 12 play, but he's going to go in confident. He's going to go in ready to deal. And he's going to go in knowing that at the end of the day, I have my legs. I've shown that I'm able to run. I'm shown that I'm able to make a split decision, but I also connected on my deep ball with Jordan Tyson for the first time last game. I had a receiver hit over 100 yards for the first time last game. I connected with my tight end multiple times. Having that stuff to draw on and then going into a game where it really doesn't feel like they could take away either part of your game, it's going to be up to him to pick and choose what he does. I'm really excited to see how he steps into this game because this should be the most confident that he's played the entire season.
Yeah, it should be.
Right? And I mean, that should continue to get better, but he should be better than the week before this week. And next week, he should be better than, next week's a bye. Next game, he should be better than he is against Texas Tech.
In theory.
But what's exciting is that I feel like he actually has that opportunity to choose this game as far as how he wants to dictate this game, whether it's through the air or whether it's on the ground.
Yeah.
I do think that's up to him.
The only caveat I have to that is it'll be up to Arroyo. It'll be up to Arroyo to establish a game plan and kind of how they want to approach this game. I've been pretty impressed with Marcus Arroyo through the first 3 weeks of the season. Just his game plan, being able to make adjustments when they need to, and really not giving when things don't necessarily go their way, right? So again, I think this is a massive, massive opportunity for this Arizona State offense to get back to what worked really well in the first 2 games of the season, and that's being able to just hand it off, own the line of scrimmage, and really dominate the opposing defense, open up the play action pass, and like you said, Erik, kind of have your way with a defense that in theory can't really match what you do offensively in any of the 3 levels of that defense. Look, we are going to hear from the Texas Tech defensive coordinator a little bit later on in the show, but I do want to kind of transition a little bit and just zoom out of this matchup because this is the opening of conference play, right, between Arizona State and Texas Tech. This is the first time that these 2 teams have played as conference opponents. They've obviously played a couple times in non-con.
Some games.
Absolutely wild games. But Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire was asked just what Arizona State brings as a program to this conference?
Man, he's doing a great job. You know, it's always tough that first year whenever you take over a program, and they were probably, if you go back, he and I actually talked about this in Vegas, they were probably as banged up as any team in the country last year. I think one time they actually went into the game and had 6 healthy offensive linemen total, you know, like to play in a game. And so, man, he's done a great job. You know, I think that what they're bringing, you've got kind of a pro-style offense. They run wide zone. They're going to run a little bit of counter, a lot of bootleg. They move the pocket. They've got some really good receivers. They got a big tight end that played really well against Texas State, number 7. And then defensively, man, they really run to the football and give great effort, you know. And they're 3-0. You know, they went in. Our Mississippi State came in and they really dominated an SEC team. You know, it was 30-23, but that game wasn't that close. You know, they really got out on them, you know, in the first half. And so they bring a lot of stuff to the table as far as really well-coached team that plays football the way it's supposed to be played.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great to be an Arizona State fan and at this point, after the train wreck that you had a couple years ago, have a Big 12 coach say that, like, they're playing football the way football should be played, and they're doing it with a young coach that knows what he's doing.
You saw a lot of it last season. It was really hard to watch sometimes. Basically, obviously, like he mentioned, all of the injuries and just the set of circumstances this team was handed. In order to actually be high on the coaching staff coming out of that, you have to believe that they're doing everything the right way. We talked about it all offseason. We're not just here during the season. We are here 5 days a week through the dog days of summer. That spends a lot of time on our end diving into exactly what this program is about, their ideals, how they're growing, what their identity is.
The bamboo.
Nothing that they've done has pointed towards doing it in a cheap way, shortcutting, quick trip to success, doing it for the flair. It's all for pure love of the game, which I know sounds corny, but that's very hard to find in modern college football. Love of the game, love of the city, love of the program, and love of football.
Yeah.
Doing it the right way. And as they start to see more success, like we've seen this season, let's just take a step back. Arizona State is 3-0. They have 3 votes in the AP Top 25. If they win this week, there's a good chance they are in the AP Top 25, especially if they win consistently. This is a team that won 3 games last year. This is a team that everybody wrote off. This is a team that everybody picked off as last in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're sitting here and people are starting to see that what you're doing is successful. What you're doing is the right plan. And of course, when that happens, you're going to get credit.
Yeah.
And it's not just going to be from opposing coaches, but from fans, from media members, and internally as well. You're going to feel better about yourself because what you're doing is actually turning into wins on the field.
People love Kenny Dillingham.
Oh, everybody loves Kenny.
People love Kenny Dillingham. They love what he's building, and it does bring something to the Big 12, right? Regardless of what people thought at the start of the season about this program, the narrative is being changed, and it's being flipped, and that's something that takes really a game-by-game process to do that. And as soon as you get that number next to your name, I think it's a win, not an if, for Arizona State. We'll get into predictions and all that stuff a little bit later on the week, but I think Arizona State takes care of business this week. And they do have a number by their name, and that's something that, you know, you
didn't expect.
No, you didn't expect to see it.
No.
I think people saw the talent, and there was potential, but not.
I don't know. A lot of people didn't even see that.
Well, I think we saw the potential, but I didn't.
We saw it.
I don't think we even knew how quickly it would come together.
No, neither of us predicted this season to be the way that it was so far.
No, I said 5-7 wins, and they're trending towards 7.
Yeah, but that's the thing is we also saw we saw the building blocks and we knew that they would be successful. It was a matter of time. They've just accelerated that. I think Sharon, with a great point in the chat before we hit a break here, says the biggest glimmer of hope I saw last year was how Dilly could get last year's team to play hard and fight. No matter how outmatched and injured they were, I knew he was a good coach then. Yeah. That Washington game is such a fantastic example of that.
Yeah, it really is, because that team, again, it's one of the games where they were absolutely just beat up, right, from a health perspective. You, at that point, were missing your starting quarterback, your offensive line. You didn't have enough guys to even really field a special teams unit, so you couldn't kick a massive field goal in the rain against a team that was eventually in the national championship game. And Arizona State won that football game for 3 quarters.
They should have won that game.
Yeah,
It's
that was
tough.
adversity.
It was a tough loss.
This team didn't know how to win then.
No,
but
not at all.
we saw every single week that this team thus far in 2024 can win any type of football game. They can win a game by dominance. They can hold on to a game that a team is clawing and scratching and fighting back against an SEC team. And they can win a back and forth game against a team that early on in the season has projected to be one of the 12 best teams in college football. Granted, I know it's not a Power 4 team, but there is going to be somebody from the non-Power 5 that makes the college football playoff, Texas State, in that conversation.
Yeah.
They can do it any way you want it.
And they can do that because of the coaching and also because of the players, too. There's a lot of players in this team that were doubted, that transferred, that people just didn't know, hadn't seen play football, or just were completely thrown out.
Yeah.
Right? One last thing. David in the chat says, Tech is erratic. You never know which will show up. When their defense is bad, it's usually really bad. I can't pick Tech to win until they start being more consistent. Well,
guess we'll see.
We won't pick Tech to win either. We'll be on the same page.
We will absolutely see. But hey, we're going to tell you how you can go to that game here in just a second. We are going to take a break right now to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Guys, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Again, sign up. It's one of the apps that is super, super user-friendly, easy to find. I'm in the search bar right now looking for tickets to that ASU Texas Tech game.
Yeah, what you see?
You can get tickets right now, $17,
Wow.
$18, and they're honestly really good seats.
No, and the great thing about Game Time is that you can see the view from the seat right there.
You can. It gives you an
I'm
entire
looking at
photo.
the view right now.
It's literally, some of these deals are absolutely wild.
You want to drive to Lubbock?
$25. I don't want to, but if you're in Lubbock and you want tickets to the game, download Game Time, sign up, super user-friendly. Again, Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy shows, theaters, and so much more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Redbeard?
Game time.
Yes, sir. Listen, if you're not going to the Texas Tech game, or if you're not going to go in person in a game, you might be tailgating. You might be having some fun. And Anthony Totri, what's the number one most important thing to have at a tailgate?
Cold drinks.
Nice cold drinks. And our friends over at Rugged Road will not only guarantee that your drinks will stay cold that day, but for minimum 7 days, because that is just what they do. They have the highest quality materials and craftsmanship designed in these coolers to not just take it to a tailgate, but all of your outdoor rugged activities, from the backyard to the backwoods. You go back there and you want to just camp.
That's where Redbeard's at all the time.
That is where Redbeard is at. Listen, they have a term that I've never heard of before: floatability. One of the most unique features in Rugged Road coolers is they are always able to float upright. They have a lightweight design. They're durable. They're dependable. They're versatile, not just for outdoor activities, not just for tailgates, but really whatever you need them to do. You're throwing a party? Get a Rugged Road cooler. The worst thing that you can do is have ice that melts and then your drinks get warm, and it
ruins the whole tailgate experience.
It ruins the vibe. And guess what? You can actually save some money, and you can save the vibes. Get ready for your summer adventures with Rugged Road coolers. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Use code PHNX for 10% off your order. Lightweight, durable, always floating upright, perfect on land or in water. Leave that old heavy cooler at home. Get yourself a better cooler for the new season. Rugged Road, your ultimate outdoor companion.
Absolutely love it. Look, we heard from Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. We are going to hear from Texas Tech defensive coordinator Tim DeRuyter. Again, that defense, not a unit that has proved to be really consistent or really dominant outside of that game against North Texas, and even then allowing 20-plus points in that game. Not a great sign. Michael Davis in the chat, Joey McGuire is 12-3 at home since taking over as head coach. This is a much better team at home.
Hey, you know what? That's a good point.
We will find out. This Saturday morning, kind of an earlier kickoff if you're local Arizona time. I believe kickoff is at 12:30 Arizona time. So I don't know about you. I'm personally excited about that. Weather should be about overcast for that game. So we'll see. We'll see obviously what transpires, but the big theme of what we talked about today is Texas Tech's defense trying to stop Sam Leavitt in his dual threat ability. He does provide the ability to just scramble and take off and, really hurt this Red Raider defense in ways that they've been hurt thus far this season. That's not new to the Texas Tech defensive coordinator, Tim DeRuyter. He was literally asked point blank, will they be prepared to stop Sam Leavitt's running ability?
We better be. There's no excuse not to. The thing with this quarterback, he's done a great job of not necessarily design quarterback runs, but where the pocket breaks down, if you don't keep him contained or you don't have a spy guy, he's really hurting some people. So we've got to put together a great plan. We got to do a much better job than what we've done the first couple of weeks as far as our pocket integrity. Our pass rush right now, we've got to get a better push inside and not as high rushers outside. We're letting step up lanes, and this guy will, he'll take advantage of that. I mean, he had a 40-something yard run the other day that really helped turn the game in their favor when they were down. So it's something that's a concern that we'll be working on this week.
Yeah, I would say if you're preparing for ASU, and
we
you're
better
not,
be.
Yeah, we better be was such a great answer. A great answer. There's no way that you beat this team unless you take Cam Skattebo out of it. Now, do I think that's going to happen?
Nobody's been able to do it yet.
I don't think that's going to happen. But that is the only way that you're going to win this game. Even if you
take Scat out of the game?
Even if you contain Sam Leavitt, which is more likely than containing Cam Skattebo.
I don't even know. I'm gonna be honest. I think Scat could rush for 50 yards, and there's still a way Arizona State wins the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a way. If everybody else goes off, but I feel like if you're like, hey, if they had to pick one player, you say we contained this one player and had them perform 25%.
There's not a defense in this conference that can take away Cam Skattebo.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So if you were able to take care of him, then
you still have a quarterback that can run with the best of them.
I'll just shut up.
I'm pretty sure Sam Leavitt, I could be wrong here. I'm pretty sure Sam Leavitt is a top 20 rusher in this conference right now. Your quarterback is a top 20 rusher in this conference right now, which, again, features a conference with the best running backs in the nation. Sam Leavitt does everything that you want your quarterback to do. He's got the deep ball. He's got the legs. The way that Texas Tech wins this game, I think more so starts with containing Sam Leavitt. I think Sam Leavitt, because it's such a difference, right? Like DeRuyter said, it's not necessarily designed quarterback runs where Sam Leavitt takes off. Which, again, play breaks down, doesn't see what he likes downfield, and he's able to make a guy miss, or people just underestimate his athleticism, and he's able to take off and scramble for first downs, chunk plays, whatever. If you're able to contain Sam Leavitt, that tells me that you're likely running a four-man front, everybody's staying in their rush lanes, and you're able to win the line of scrimmage, which if you're winning the line of scrimmage on passing downs, then Arizona State's going to become one-dimensional, and you're going to have to run the football. And at that point, that's when you load the box. I think there's a significant amount of pressure on this Texas Tech defensive line. I know in previous games we've talked about pressure being on secondaries or linebackers. I think this game is going to be on that Texas Tech defensive line. If they're able to own the line of scrimmage, then I think it's going to make life a little bit more challenging because Sam is not going to have necessarily those lanes to scramble, step up, and do what he needs to do. But Texas Tech's defensive line has yet to really prove that they can do that thus far this season.
I don't think they'll be able to do that. And plus, if you get Sean Na back as well, that's going to be
huge.
That's going to be a massive
deal. It'll be absolutely huge. But look, we talk about Cam Skattebo. We heard, Kenny, he's talked about Scat a ton this season. And then Joey McGuire called him a bad man. And that's exactly what he is. DeRuyter, though, I mean, some more of the same. He knows what Cam Skattebo is.
Yeah, the running back. I mean, the offense goes through him. One of the top backs in our conference. He's in a lot of ways a lot like Taj, where he's a guy that can make you miss. He runs with a lot of power, really good short area quickness. Their scheme's a little different. They run a wide zone primarily, and he can get to the edge in a hurry. And as he does, he's either bouncing it or cutting it back, and does a really good job with his feet and vision and anticipation of cutting it. And when he gets one-on-ones, there's not many guys that get him down, and there's no yardage. You better have a gang of guys there tackling him because he'll run through people.
Taj Brooks is a really good running back. I don't like the comp of Scat and Brooks. I don't
talent-wise?
No, I just don't like. I don't like Scat being compared to anybody in the country. Not to say he's the best. I think he's one of the best running backs in the nation. I think, and I think his numbers and the tape will show you that. But I don't think there's anybody in this conference quite like Cam Skattebo because he can run outside, he can run in between the tackles, and this guy looks for contact. Cam Skattebo is wired differently, right? We've had conversations with Skat. We've seen Skat, like the way he functions. He is built differently, okay? He looks for contact. In today's day and age of running backs, don't do that anymore, right? You're trying to get speedsters. You're trying to get guys that can catch a football, and Skat can do that. But Skat, he'll take a run. He'll see one guy staring down a gap, and he's not going to try and make a miss. No. Because he knows, I'm going to hurt you, dude. Like that's what he does. That's what he does. He is because he's not the tallest guy in the world, like we talked about last week, he's got such great leverage to where he inflicts the contact. He inflicts the pain. And for 4 quarters, man, that just absolutely beats you up. You saw last week against Texas State, even them loading the box at the very end of that game. You knew the ball was going to 4. Guess what? He was able to get a first down. I believe it was a 7-8 yard run because that's what he does. He looks for contact. And you don't, at a certain point in the 4th quarter, defensive guys, they do like contact, right? Especially linebackers, defensive linemen. You don't want it. You don't want it. Okay? And Michael in the chat, hate to tell you, but you just described Taj Brooks. Look, like I said, Taj is a great running back, but each one of these running backs, each one of these running backs in this conference, they're different, right? Yes, they can have some similarities as all running backs do. They have their own different styles, right? Taj Brooks and Cam Skattebo may be similar in the fact that they look for contact. That's not like he's his own running back, right? We even got Mike Luke in the chat, which Mike Luke believes he would have taken the Wildcats running back before Cam Skattebo at the start of the season.
No way.
I'm sure say that. He did. I'm sure that's changed since then. He acknowledged that Skat was a really, really talented running back. He liked the running back room that they have at Arizona, but I would say just about every team in this conference would welcome Cam Skattebo on their roster.
Yeah. Not to say Taj Brooks is bad.
No, I think he's a really good running back.
I think the thing with Cam is, yeah, he seeks out contact. Yeah, he'll power somebody over, but his weight loss this offseason has allowed him to do so many versatile things. I mean, he beats a lot of people with his speed as well, and he mixes that speed with his power to just run people over. I mean, guys bounce off of him.
He does.
Legitimately just bounce off
He's
of him.
He's a bad man.
Bad man.
He's a bad man.
Bad man.
Would you, how many, would you rather tackle Cam Skattebo or Taj Brooks? Not that you'd have success against either.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I'd have success against both. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'd rather tackle Taj Brooks.
You'd rather tackle Taj Brooks.
Well, actually, I don't know, because we've said a lot of really nice things about Cam, so maybe he would go easy on me.
I don't think he would.
Yeah, that's true. He'd probably put me through the dirt.
He puts the helmet on.
He would put me through the dirt, and
he's literally wired differently. It's gonna be a problem. And I think this is gonna be a tough game for Texas Tech's defense, but we'll see. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about that Arizona State defense going up against that high-powered Texas Tech offense. That's where this game is probably going to be won or lost if Arizona State's defense can hang around with Texas Tech's offense. But that is a conversation for tomorrow, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Definitely subscribe to PHNX Sports. A ton of content, not just related to Arizona State, but really all sports here in the Valley. The Suns, the Cardinals, hockey in the Valley, the Diamondbacks, Mercury, the Wildcats, and so much more. If you're a Big 12 fan, definitely go look on our YouTube channel. We just dropped our Big 12 power rankings heading into conference play. Definitely some interesting things there. A lot of movement, a lot of shifts as well. If you enjoyed the content, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow this guy right here, the hall monitor, at Erik Ruby. That is Erik with a K. You can follow
Defensive menace.
The man whose beautiful mug was on the face at the start of this show. That is Captain Redbeard. You can follow him at KCoop Sports. And we will see you guys tomorrow. But in the meantime, go Devils. And peace.
We all silly like the mayor.